Welcome back to the Takeout. Republican Clay Fuller, who had the endorsement of President Trump, beat Democrat Shawn Harris in a race to fill Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat in Congress. It's in North Georgia. That result, not surprising. It's a strongly Republican district, but the margin of victory might prove interesting as we think about the midterms ahead. President Trump carried the district by roughly 37 points in 2024, Greene by 28 points. Fuller currently projected to win by about 12 points. So is that worrisome? Congressman-elect Fuller joins us now. Congressman-elect, first thing, congratulations. I'm glad to have you on the program. Explain to my audience how you were processing the size of victory and the outsiders who say, wow, that looks smaller than it should have been.
Well, thank you, Major. I really appreciate you having me. So the thing that I would tell viewers is this was an absolutely dominating performance. The thing that you aren't hearing from the national media, obviously, this was a special election. We were the only campaign, the only election on the ballot. The other thing that I'd say, I'd be more worried if I was a Democrat at this point, because they spent $6 million in this race compared to one. They had a candidate in the race who did everything he could to make sure he didn't let voters know that he was a Democrat. And so he was trying to run essentially as a MAGA Republican. And so he wasn't even running as a Democrat, had signs out there that said he was essentially a Republican. And so I think you see the results, and it was still a dominating performance last night. We're really proud of how we did. And I'd be more concerned about the money that the Democrats lit on fire, and they weren't even competitive in this special election.
How do you assess what's happened in the last 24 hours, Congressman-elect, with the ceasefire with Iran?
Yeah, so President Trump is the peace through strength president. And you're seeing this with the negotiations that he's putting in place. Obviously, it's very difficult to negotiate with a death cult. But the thing is, he's trying to make sure he's fulfilling a promise that multiple presidential administrations have done. They've said that this regime that has killed thousands and maimed thousands of Americans since 1979 should never have a nuclear weapon. He's ensured that. He's made sure that our country is safer, that Western Europe is safer, and that the Middle East is safer now because of his actions. And he's going to do everything that he can to resolve this conflict in a responsible manner. And you're seeing that with the negotiations that are ongoing. You're seeing the markets rally. You're seeing oil prices drop. And once we're through this conflict, the world is going to be a much safer place because of the peace through strength President Trump.
As you well know, Congressman-elect, your predecessor, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has been very, very critical of the president and his prosecution of this war. Has the president changed, or has she changed?
Well, the thing that I talked to most voters about when I was out on the campaign trail, they're less concerned about any sort of disagreements in the past or any issues in the past. They're worried about the future and the fights of the future, and that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to send a MAGA, America First warrior up to Capitol Hill to have President Trump's back, but most importantly, to fight for them each and every day, because they know that what President Trump's economy is doing is bringing back the good manufacturing jobs that have been hollowed out by economic policy over the last 30 to 40 years. And so the voters here are concerned about sending me up to Capitol Hill to make sure that I'm a fighter for President Trump and bringing back those manufacturing jobs to the district. And so that's what their concern is. They're not concerned about any fights of the past. They want a fighter up there for the future to have their back and to have President Trump's back.
In your district, are your voters satisfied with the president's record on inflation and job creation? Because our polling and other polling continues to suggest the nation writ large is not.
Yeah, well, I'd really like to know what the polling question is, because I hope that the pollsters are saying that when you look at core inflation, which is a better measurement of where inflation is as an economic measurement, core inflation is at its lowest rate since 2021. So President Trump's economic policies are working. It's bringing down core inflation prices to record levels. And also, I hope the pollsters are reminding voters that this is an inflationary crisis that was inherited by the Biden administration. And President Trump is doing everything he can to fix the Biden administration's mess, and he's doing a great job about it. The short-term issues that we're seeing with the conflict in Iran, with increased gas prices, they're going to be short-term. And as soon as this conflict is over, those gas prices are going to come back down, and that core inflation rate is going to go even lower and set more records.
Congressman-elect Clay Fuller, I say this half tongue-in-cheek. Welcome to the jungle. We'll see you in Washington.
Thank you so much, Major. I appreciate it.